Does the government have any teeth when it comes to the inappropriate sexualization of children?
There was a report this week on the sexualization of young children called Letting Children Be Children. Germaine Greer.
If you think about this phenomenon, you have to ask yourself where it really comes from. Who is it, when is it that our children are sexualized? For years and years, 20 years, it's been impossible to buy clothes for little girls that didn't dress them as little tarts, that didn't have sequins on their jeans, that weren't Jordan pink or Katie Price pink. And it became a strange thing that little girls screamed and yelled they wanted these things. It became like a sort of guerrilla uniform for little girls saying, I am feminine, I'm a girly girl. I don't pretend to understand exactly where this came from. I would even entertain the possibility that they were reacting against a particular kind of feminism that said you've got to be, you know, boyish and tough and not be coy and manipulative and so on. It was extremely depressing for an old feminist like me to watch this phenomenon. But it just grew and grew, and the more mothers said, I will not buy you your 25th Barbie doll, the more screaming and yelling there was until the 25th Barbie doll was got. So there's always been this sinister culture that has gone along, and it's always been sexual. The Barbie doll herself is a fetish. She is descended from a sex toy. Little girls learn to flirt with their fathers, you know, kiss daddy goodnight and all this sort of business. And you wonder whether what's happening in marketing is a response to this, or whether it's actually causing it. And in fact, by now, it's become biofeedback. One feeds the other. All you can pray for is that it will run out of steam, that the kids themselves will suddenly think, that's so naff, it's so last year, it's so disgusting, that they just won't do it anymore.
So the government can't do anything about it, and this report to the Mothers' Union can't do anything about it?
If the government decides to censor what is available, if they decide that certain things are not for little girls, they will actually give them added value. They'll make them more glamorous.
So you'd rather they did nothing?
Magazines for 12-year-olds are read by 8-year-olds precisely because they're for 12-year-olds. Kids want desperately to grow up. We have to come up with something more substantial. We have to give them an idea of self-worth which goes beyond being flirtatious, goes beyond having the right size bosom age 12, which allows you to actually have a little bit of fat on your thighs, allows you not to be a dreadful imitation of a Barbie doll. But it's not to be done top down. You don't like top down with the health service. This is mental health service. It's got to come spontaneously from these little people themselves.
I'd just like to take exception to what Germaine Greer said about dressing your children as tarts. I've got 2 young girls, and they're teenagers now. My daughters have never been dressed as tarts. And also the coy kissing of daddy before they go to bed. Surely they give me a kiss because they love me.
That depends whether a child is being taught to flirt with you rather than simply, I'm sorry.
Who's going to teach my children to flirt with me? That is an awful thing to say.
There are all kinds of ways of kissing your children, but there's one thing I'd like to say here, which is that kids don't have a single culture. They have all different cultures, and schools side by side in the same street can exhibit very different behaviours because it's the way the kids in those schools define themselves. So we have some schools where the girls wear their uniforms right down to their ankles, and others where they wear them as short as they can possibly get them. It's all part of the way they define themselves, and they can define themselves in opposition to a prevailing morality. When you're a child, what you're doing is forging your own path. Parents might like to think that their kids want to have sex the way they do. They're almost certainly wrong. What we have got to understand is how creative kids are and how the development of sexuality has to do with their libido and their creativity.
But you did say what offended that father, and might offend many other fathers listening, that there was something unnatural about girls being told to kiss their father.
Have you ever heard me use the word unnatural, David?
No, I didn't say it. Did
You just said unnatural.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No.
You said it was whatever you did say. What did you say?
It's encouraging girls to be coy and manipulative in the way they approach other people. And that's something that enters right into the culture.
All right.
And we want our girls to be straightforward with us. We want them to be good chaps. But most of the time, they're being rewarded for a different kind of behaviour.
That's how sick we are as a society. That people actually introduce sex into a goodnight kiss of the father to a daughter. Unbelievable.
Imagination.